Okay, so welcome back to the Locker Room podcast here from Daily Sports Science. I'm delighted today to be joined on a different type of podcast. I don't think I've heard too much of its kind. And it was an idea that myself and Kieran had to go forward. So no better men to be joining me today for this goalkeeper expert coaches roundtable, I guess. We've got Liam Swift with us, who's played as a goalkeeper, county minor with Monaghan. He's got 10 years coaching experience with many clubs across many different counties: Dublin, Mayo, Monaghan, Cavan, Tyrone, Donegal, and potentially Galway if the season gets kicking up next season. Obviously, also had inter-county experience from a coaching perspective: Monaghan development squads, Dublin, Monaghan, and Tyrone senior ladies, and 2 years with Fermanagh seniors as well. Currently holds an IFA goalkeeper diploma and a GKC license with the FAI, and the next step is the UEFA B goalkeeper course. And most importantly, Liam recently come on board with us at DSS and doing a lot of online goalkeeper stuff, which we're very grateful for, and some great stuff going on there. Is there anything I've missed out? Anything you want to jump in and add to me or correct me?
No, Ross, that's quite extensive, so you're all right.
I had to cut it a little bit as it is, so you got loads of stuff in there. But Liam, welcome to the show, and thank you very much for coming on today.
Thank you, Ross. Thank you.
Delighted also to be joined by Chris Kerr. So was a player for many years for his home club in Antrim St Galls, and played for intercounty for Antrim for 11 years as well. And just chatting before the show, played against us when we was involved at London, beat us there in Ruislip. Over 100 caps for intercounty team, and was captain in 2017. As well as that, Chris is currently interested in S&C. He's doing a BSc in S&C at Setanta College, and is also NSCS qualified. So a real interesting background there, Chris, from player, goalkeeper, great experience, and now going into the physical prep side.
Yeah, no, thanks for having us, Ross. And yeah, it's one of those things. I just think moving, I was lucky enough to sort of play and watch the position evolve, so you can see the difference in how the position has come on since I started playing, really.
For sure. And a couple of injuries, back-to-back ACL injuries, which maybe took you down the S&C pathway.
Yeah, I probably already had an interest in that, but I suppose just when coming probably to the twilight years of my playing career, starting to think, now how can you pass that on to try and avoid, for potential goalkeepers to avoid doing the injury. It's not like a wee hamstring tweak where you can get a wee massage and that's it. You're in it for the long haul, rehab way. So yeah, tough enough, but halfway through the second rehab now and going right there.
Good, great stuff. Okay, gents, I think we'll jump straight in. So I think I'll come over to you, Liam, first. First question I've got on topic to discuss: is the goalkeeper a neglected position when it comes to coaching? And I don't mean to the goalkeeper coach who works with the goalie, because I know the GK union is very tight and very strong, and it's hard to separate that. But as an overall, from a coaching perspective, myself, outfield coach, and you guys, your experiences, is it neglected?
Not as much now, Ross. Suppose 10 years ago when I would have started coaching, there was nothing available, absolutely nothing. Even go back to when I played with the Monaghan County Minors, no goalkeeping coaching whatsoever, absolutely nothing. You were through in there. Well, obviously you would have played with your club to get picked for the county and stuff, but even go back to my home club at the time, Monaghan Harps, I had one goalkeeping session with. We were lucky enough, we had the county goalkeeper at the time, which was Declan McCardle. Took me for one session. That's all I ever got as a young keeper growing up. Nowadays it's a lot different. I think most county setups have a goalkeeping coach in place, and a lot of county development squads will have goalkeeping coaches in place. But then when you get out into club level, that's where it starts to fall apart a wee bit. Yes, some top level clubs have a goalkeeping coach in place, whether it's the next goalkeeper coming in to give his experience and sort of coaching on to the young keepers. But it's definitely changed now from what it was 10 years ago. I'm sure Chris could back me up on that one, because I'm sure when he was growing up, there wasn't a whole pile happening there either.
Yeah, what's your thoughts, Chris? And just on the flip side of that, so that if there is more goalkeeper provision from a specialist goalkeeper coach, do you feel that neglected a little bit from management in terms of coaching now, coaching detail on the grass? Like, is it kind of all led down to the goalkeeper coach?
Yeah, I think, as Liam said there, when first starting off, maybe with St Galls, I was very lucky to have been sort of down the packing order in terms of, we had a Antrim #1 goalkeeper at the time, and also Fermanagh #1 goalkeeper at the time was playing at St Galls. So I was lucky enough to sort of learn off them, and and they were being sort of, they had goalkeeper coaches at Antrim, so they were sort of relaying that into our club. So in that sense, it wasn't too bad, but for myself. But just on what Liam's saying, it definitely, I think as time has went on and it's progressed, you were probably growing up. A lot of people were reliant on, the older goalkeepers retiring and then maybe trying to put back in again to their own clubs and stuff. But it's definitely most teams, most clubs. Have goalkeeper coaches now, and definitely with the way the position has changed and evolved, it's a vital position. You're an individual in a team, so you need your own individual sort of looking after.
For sure, it's great to see that it's come on so well. I think that's reflected in a lot of performances and the way the game's evolved, for sure.
I think as well, sorry Ross,
cool.
Was just, I think, in terms of goalkeeping coaching, I sort of got that impression that it's not that people didn't want to do it. It's just that they didn't know how. They'd never walked that path of doing goals. Everyone has their idea of doing goals until you don't really know until you've put the boots or gloves on and sort of walk that path too, to have so I think a lot of managers sort of stay away from it because they're not too sure. But it's definitely having someone there that has their coaching behind them can definitely help them and open their eyes and ears to what really goes on. Like,
for sure. No, 100% agree. Sticking with you, Chris. So why are you so passionate about goalkeeping? Like, did you start out as a goalkeeper player, or did you start outfield? Because in soccer, a lot of times they start as outfield players, and then at some point they go in goal for whatever reason.
A bit of both. You can't obviously see me sitting down, like, but I'm quite tall, like, and I've always been quite tall. Like, I think just started off sort of, you were in and out of goals and playing outs, and then it sort of went from about under 10 where they were really pressing me into goals, and not pressing me in, but they kept being picked in goals, and I used to think I was being put in there because it was rubbish, but it probably was, but they told me differently. But and then it just sort of materialized. I was obviously growing. I'm 6'5" now, like, so and then I started enjoying just not chasing people. I was playing Gaelic soccer, hurling, and I just hated the thought of running after someone or getting stuck on someone really quick, and it just went from there. Like, and yeah, I do. I love it, like, because I would have went between soccer and Gaelic as well. Growing up and right up until probably the first ACL injury, like, so. Yeah, and I do really enjoy it. Like, and I think both of them transfer well with each other. Like, you can. I'm sure that's what Liam will vouch for that. In his coaching sessions and that. There is a lot of transfer in both. Like,
for sure. And Liam, yourself, how did you come about in terms of being really passionate about goalkeeping?
Passionate, Jesus, passionate to me would be an understatement, Ross. It's I absolutely live and breathe it. You know what I mean? I suppose how I sort of started off was, I sort of remember when I was actually doing a bit of research in this the other day, was that I was about 11 or 12, and I remember playing at school, and one of the boys says, "Swift, you jump in the goals there," and I hadn't a clue, and somebody took a shot, and I remember just saving it. And from that day on, I was always putting goals, and it just always I don't know what it was about the position, and I always felt very important, a good part of the team, because I could actually help them along the way. You know what I mean? And in regards and things nowadays, like, there's not probably a minute goes past the day where I'm thinking, what can I do more to improve my coaching? I watch a lot of Gaelic games back, and I go to a lot of, well, previous to lockdown, go to a lot of games, and I actually physically go behind the goals, and I watch goalkeeping warm-ups. I watched goalkeeping, the run-ups, the kick-out routines, the footwork, the handling. I go probably to the bone with it, and I'll take a few wee mental notes, and I'll write a few wee notes on my phone and things like that. So to me, it's a passion, Ross. It's something I love. It's something that I like to give back. But I didn't get it as a kid. And now I get a drive now that the knowledge that I have now is past 10, 11 years doing this, and I can pass that on to young kids, to mates, I actually get a great kick out of that. It's a real passion for me, definitely.
Sure. Cheers, Liam. And just jumping on what Chris said there, and I'm sure you both got ideas in this. How much influence from a goalkeeper perspective, coaching-wise, has come from, you guys call it soccer, football for me, but yeah, how much has come from who maybe had that goalkeeper provision maybe earlier, chronologically? What's your thoughts on that, Liam?
You mean so it has in the coaching, has in the difference between the both setups, or?
Yeah, just in terms of like the goalkeeper coach in soccer would have probably been there maybe longer, further back. There might have been a specialist there. And even the practices that you do, do you think it's hugely transferable and it's come mainly from that? Or do you think it's slightly different in the way it's done in
I suppose like initially I would have done my soccer goalkeeping badge because there's nothing in the Gaelic world for goalkeeping coaches. There's nothing, not even the ladies' game is trying to start something up, but there's nothing on the men's side of it for goalkeeping coaching. So for me to be able to go and, suppose when I went in this journey, I had went and done a lot of research on how do I go and qualify myself to be able to stop and fix keepers and stuff like that. So obviously I had to go down the soccer route with things. And regarding transfer to Gaelic, yes, there is a lot of stuff within the soccer setup that we do bring into the Gaelic. But then there's other things that, it's very seldom I will do a session where I'm teaching the keeper to dive into the top corner. Because it doesn't happen in Gaelic football. It's very seldom you'll see a keeper taking that big massive save in the top corner. 9 times out of 10, he's standing up tall, and you're sort of learning to take that shot as a reflex sort of action. So that would probably be the only thing that I wouldn't really do in the Gaelic world would be that the fancy one into the top corner. You know what I mean? Fair
enough. Chris, what's your thoughts on that, Chris?
Definitely, the big one for me in terms of the transfer was definitely footwork. Sort of lucky enough with playing with Antrim, there was a couple of Irish League soccer goalkeepers that were really good out the field players. Sean O'Neill is Crusaders goalkeeper. Brian Neeson played for Cliftonville. Both really quick feet, and they would have jumped in the odd time just with, and Sean played goals as well. And it was only them, and I realised how quick their feet were going through it, looking through different drills. I was like, that was the big thing I then started trying to work on, and it definitely paid dividends. Like I think just the reflexes, and then even when you're like obviously kicking, catching, and saving are all transferable. You're going to do all three, obviously, albeit as Liam said, there it's a lot of point blank, probably, standing up tall. There's not the big, camera saves around where you tip one over the crossbar and because you give away a point, people will eat you for it. But I do definitely. I enjoyed playing soccer sort of in the off season, between the Gaelic ending and starting again. Always felt it just kept you sharp and on your toes, done no harm. Enjoyed it.
No, for sure. And I think it's from my experience of watching both, there's less of those reflex saves in the Gaelic. It's more around the kickouts, but it's that moment where you could stop a goal, for example, and that could be the difference between winning and losing the game, right? So it's that you train those kind of volumes and that sort of footwork stuff for that specific moment that you might need it.
Absolutely, yeah.
For sure. If you look at Ross, sorry, if you look at sort of the futsal goalkeeper nowadays, you watch the saves they make. They're going out into the K and they're spreading themselves big and stuff. So something like that is transferable into the Gaelic world. I would do bits and pieces of that as well.
For sure. We always had, Kieran always brought in soccer goalkeeper coaches, I guess, who knew the GA. AD Creamer was our one for 4 or 5 years. So, yeah, I think there's massive transfers between the two. I'm amazed, guys, that like the coaching badges in the GA aren't at inter-county level, aren't mandatory and aren't there for those selectors and coaches to not have to get, but to be able to attain. Like in the soccer world over here, you have to have a certain UEFA B, Swifty, you're going on it, to be in a certain position in the academy, and UEFA A for first team, whatever it is. I'm amazed that hasn't happened yet. Do you think that will happen at some point?
It's a tough one, Ross. I suppose if you look around, say the 32 counties in Ireland, and you pull the goalkeeping coaches together, just off my sort of knowledge on it, you might have 5, 6 that actually hold physical goalkeeping coaching qualifications, to coach at that high level. So And I really think it is that it is needed in the Gaelic, to be able to stop and fix certain problems. It's the same as probably it's in the soccer world. If you're stopping and fixing certain things, bang, 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 straight away. And it's the same in goalkeeping when you're doing your coaching. Is that you need to be able to do that, stop and fix. Why are you doing this? We need to do this, and to be able to know why you have to do certain things as in the stop and fix. So to me, I think it's definitely something that the GA should look into. Is even if it was a fundamental course, just so keepers are getting the basics right. And then obviously if you go into coaching county level, if there was another level onto that, brilliant. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, fair. Chris, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, definitely. I think, sort of mentioned earlier, a lot of teams and a lot of our county teams or clubs really rely on, ex-goalkeepers that played in that team or played or in and around a county to come in and do that. Even ourselves with Antrim, the goalkeeper before me for maybe 15, 20 years was Sean McGreevy, and he came in as our goalkeeping coach. So, and Sean done the same. He played soccer and Gaelic. So you were relying on coaches like that, to come in. I know John Devine, who was an All-Ireland winner with Tyrone, went in with Tyrone. So I think a lot of teams were really reliant on sort of the, past players or big name past players as well, like to go in there, like.
Sure, and I think that still counts for huge amounts. Their knowledge and understanding of the game is huge, but I think just something that they could maybe get or strive towards to be officially accredited, I guess, in what they have might be something to look into.
Yeah, big time. You marry the both, you're on to a winner, like.
Exactly. I thought, gents, what we'll try and do is try and go through a 4-corner approach. So we'll go like technical, tactical, physical, psych, social, and there'll be crossover, of course, and it will go down different ways. But I guess we've kind of already touched upon the technical work. Within goalkeeper training, and I'm sure you guys have done it as a player and also coaching, and I've seen Liam, your work online is very similar to this. There's a lot of technical, what I call closed skill practices. So very technically based, lots of repetitions of whatever skill you're working on. How important is this skill? And I'll start with you first, Liam. How important is this? And talk a little bit about certain methods that you have. Do you have certain times you work for, certain amount of repetitions you work for within a particular practice, and just a bit of info you do within your coaching?
Basically, my type of coaching would be, I'd be very inquisitive, and I would question keepers quite a bit. And that's really because I want to know what they know. You know what I mean? And I could fire questions at them. Why do you need to step out for your dive, etc., and get their answers off them, just to pick their brain to see what they're thinking, and to see that they understand what I'm trying to get across to them. And regarding we've gone into sessions and stuff, I'm not a big believer in loads of repetitions. I don't believe in flogging a keeper, and draining him out, because he's not learning, because he's getting tired and etc. So any sort of drills I would want to keep it through any skill set, probably max would probably be 5 to 6, and then we might progress it on to something else. And that's the way I would. I don't, I've seen sessions of people doing where keepers are absolutely knackered, but they're not fit to do the next stage of the drills. So that's probably the way I would operate most of my sessions. And again, the way I coach, I find I get more out of it by quizzing the keepers quite a bit. I'm not going to go there and spout out a load of stuff. I want to know what they know.
Very, very interesting you say that, Liam, because we had a guy here who's academy manager, Perry Suckling, his name was, used to play former pro, head of goalkeeping at Tottenham. He used to always say he used very minimal equipment, so he didn't have many cones. You see some goalkeeper coaches with all the bells and whistles, and he said it's all about quality, because in a game, top whack, you might get 2 or 3 reflex saves, maybe once every 5 games. So you need to make sure the quality of work is there. But you see so many keepers doing like a minute of diving left and right, and like you say, flogging them, and you have to question it a little bit. From your experiences, Chris, what's your takes on that, and anything else from the goalkeeper specific technical work that you think is important and helped you, I guess, in your career?
Yeah, I think when it comes to obviously the diving and stuff, I think Liam is right there. 6 to 8 reps, I would always think in my head, like just 3 to 4 each side.
Mm-hmm.
I think I've been on the receiving end of standing there in goals, as you're saying. Maybe not quite a minute. They probably would have needed a defib, but maybe like 20, 30 shots. And in the back of my head, Liam, not that I was saying it, but during that I was sort of inquisitive, going, and then I started, asking, going, why are we doing 20 shots or back to back? That's not going to happen in a game. If that happens in a game, either I've badly messed up or someone else has. And I just think, doing really quality reps, is king. I think if you're flogging people, the quality starts going out of it. Their technique is all over the place, and then you're opening the window for injury as well. I think as well, when people genuinely don't know what they're doing. So I would always go with the quality over quantity. It's definitely top of the list.
Perfect. And I think even like you guys have said, 5 to 6 or 6 to 8 reps, you're still overloading what you would do in a match because you want to develop the skill. So you're still getting your overload, but it's not excessive. Like you say, you're working on the technical aspects.
Yeah. You're doing 68 in a training session. Then when it comes to a game, it feels easy. I always think, or easier. Like.
So moving on from that then, so Liam, I've seen a lot of stuff you've done in terms of breaking down kicking. So especially a massive part in the GA from goal kicks and stuff. Like, how important is this work that we break it down, and how important is it that we get goalkeepers actually doing certain movements the right way? And I know there's different ways to do things, but there's going to be some key coaching points that you guys you want to get across.
Oh, definitely. And you'll probably see what I've been doing at the minute. At the minute I'm doing, because of the lockdown, and I can't get access to any of the keepers I'm involved with. And some of the keepers I've never worked with before. So at the minute we're doing they'll send me clips of their kickouts using huddle technique, and we'll do a Zoom call, and we'll do the analysis of the kickout over Zoom. And that's me. It's because a lot of keepers will never watch their own kicking technique, and they're absolutely amazed at the wee bits you can pick out. Even as regard, like, say there was one of them last night where the keeper's foot was sort of before the ball, so he was catching his kick on the up, so he needed to get his foot planted in line with the ball.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So there were sort of wee things we picked out on that. But again, the technical part of the kick out, it has changed so much now. We're back years ago, you were putting the ball in the big mucky divot and you were kicking it as far as you could, and nobody cared where it went. We're now, where the game has changed, yes, you need that long kick, you need the medium kick, and you need the short kick, and you need that drive kick out as well. Which there's 3 kickouts keepers have to learn, the three different techniques.
For sure, such a variation of kickouts, and now, if possible, playing off both feet, it just opens options up both sides of the pitch, doesn't it? Chris, what's your experiences in terms of someone like? Did you get a lot of technical info from good ex-players and from coaches around the technical details of how to do certain things?
Yeah, I think from no age, I always had this, ability to kick really long. So the long kick was always something I had in my artillery, say, playing soccer and Gaelic. But it was more when the game, it was probably 2010 before it all really kicked off. I remember with St Galls, and we would have a big history of playing sevens football, where a lot of short kickouts and retaining the ball. And I was lucky enough, Ronan Gallagher was the Fermanagh goalkeeper at the time, and I could always kick longer than Ronan, but it was his accuracy of kicking short, that medium kick, that 45, 50 meter, somebody on the run, where I was sort of like I was like mouth wide open, like just going, how's he hitting this on the money each time? But it was his run up was exactly the same, the amount of steps, and I was lucky enough in that sense, with learning from Ronan, who was a top goalkeeper for Fermanagh and St Galls. It was a good learning curve.
Sure, it's not just with goalkeeping, across the board. I think coaching sometimes lacks the technical detail, and that's something that I think goalkeepers probably do quite well, because they work with such smaller numbers and they can focus a bit more on the individual. Here's one for you both. So because of the provision now we've got, it's become a bit more specialist with the goalkeeper doing their stuff for the 45 an hour, whatever it is, each training session. has it swung a bit too much one way? Should we, I'm thinking more of like the Dutch philosophy where at very young, until 13, 14, the goalkeepers train half their time with the outfield to get, like you said, Chris, with foot pattern work and basic technical principles. Do you think we've gone a bit too far one way? Do we need a bit more of a blend of them training with the outfield team, or do you think we're on the right trajectory?
I think that comes from depending on the manager as well, isn't it? You have to go with what the sort of boss says, like. But I think I'm a big believer that goalkeepers, especially now, should definitely be involved in outfield drills to a degree, because you look at even goalkeepers nowadays as well. They're athletes. They look like outfield players. A lot of them play out the field for their clubs, and with the rule change last year, with you were able to kick the ball out and take it back. That sort of, I feel, robbed a few teams, and Tyrone being one of them probably. Now I've watched a lot of Tyrone club football, and Niall Morgan is a super goalkeeper, but he's just as good out the pitch for his club. And you can see that the way he carries the ball. He looks like an outfield player, and I think that it instills trust into the team that they've seen you train and play out the field, and they're happy enough to give the ball back to you if you're trying to work the ball up the pitch or up through the lanes, even in soccer. So I would definitely think there's a line. I think it's if there's loads of running and a lot of aerobic, long distance running, real flogging session as you get a lot of managers will do. There's not an awful lot of goalkeepers going to gain from that, but definitely in terms of small sided games, I would definitely be all for that. Like,
I sort of, and again, what Chris was saying there about managers and coaches and stuff, I sort of try my best to liaise with the management team, regardless of the team we're with the day before, as in what's their session plan. And if it doesn't involve the goalkeepers, then obviously I'll have them for the session. But if it does involve them, then I will obviously take them 30 minutes previous to the actual session starting. So they're not losing out on getting their specific position coaching, and then they can go in and they can join the team sessions, which I think it's great that they can do that. But I still think, if at all possible, and the goalkeeping coach is there, that they still get a wee bit. But again, liaise with the manager and get that done before the sessions basically starts itself.
Yeah, for sure. I think you both hit the nail on the head. It's about the balance, isn't it? And also, like you said, especially in Gaelic, from my time being involved there, it's an extra number on the field for you. If you especially against a high press, if you need another option, if the goalkeeper's confident, receiving skills, being able to travel with the ball, not crazy. I mean, I've seen goalkeepers score points, but you're not talking that extreme. But just gives you trust, doesn't it, Chris? Like you said, and instills confidence in your back line.
Definitely, yeah, big time. I felt that, and again, as I said, touch on St Galls, we have a rich sevens history, and would have always been certain times of the year where that was definitely in our training, and I always enjoyed that side of it. It's your works on everything, like your handling, your decision making if someone's closing you down and stuff, and I think it's as you say, there's a balance. And also the time of year with the coach as well. As games become thick and fast, you're going to be with, probably more and more with the team working on set plays and whatever it may be. But I think there's a time where definitely pre-season, you get a block of quality working with a goalkeeper coach.
For sure, no, 100%. Well, that leads us quite nicely onto the tactical stuff then. So, thinking obviously within our own kickouts, they're pivotal and it's essential, but in general, so within a tactical setup, how important is the goalkeeper? And I'm thinking of all different scenarios when the ball's at the other end of the field. Like you said, they're different set piece scenarios. How important is the goalkeeper within a tactical setup of a team? I'll come to you, Liam, first.
Oh God, it's massive. It's massive for us. And again, it's something I probably touched on earlier on regarding the kicking thing. Is that I said years ago, it was kick the big divot into the ground, put the ball on it, and flop it up the ground, flip it up the field. Sorry. And now it's completely different. Your goalkeeper now is as Chris will back me up in this. Your goalkeeper now, especially the modern day one, he's your quarterback. He's your main man. He's your main man. And then obviously players out the field, you need the movement. And then you obviously decision making has where your kick out, etc. is going to go. And again, the communication thing is massive, absolutely massive. Again, as you said, Ross, with the ball being up the other end of the field, keeper's job to keep the full back line, half back line on their toes to preempt whatever might happen. So to me, it's absolutely massive. We've all that, especially the kicking end of things nowadays. I mean, we'll probably get on a bit about the kicking, but to me, it's so important nowadays.
Yeah.
So
it's huge, isn't it? And it can invite pressure if it's not going so well. Who's in charge? So like you got good movement from different units outside the pitch. The keeper's in charge of when he plays it. I mean, he's on the ball. Who calls different plays, or how do you see that?
It's kind of a lot of teams do it differently. If for instance we take Stephen Cluxton there, okay, and a lot of people have been talking about how does Stephen Cluxton, the kick out strategies, etc. But it's really quite simple if you look at it. Yes, he does full back lines, half back line, there's two midfielders, okay, and if they're all moving, okay, and I've spoke to Stephen about this about 2 years ago. He always has two options out of them 8 people to kick to. And when you sit back and look at it, then it's like, oh God, it does happen. It does happen, you know what I mean? And then there was a game during the lockdown on TV. I think it was Dublin against Meath, and Steve went to go and take his kick, and the movement wasn't happening. The first thing you heard him saying was, "Move again, move again." So that's triggering the players. Yes, the first one's not happening, so they have to make the second one to give him an option for his kick out.
Yeah.
So it's massive,
Yeah, I'm sure they work on, well, they're the best in the business at it, but his trigger of going, putting the ball, placing the ball down is their trigger to move, isn't it? So
exactly.
It's all kind of working together. What about you, Chris? Different scenarios, tactical you played. How important is your role within that whole team function?
Yeah. From my point of view, I'll tell everyone that it's a really important role. And I think it definitely as the positions evolve, there's more and more. You see now, even during lockdown, how much nearly verbals goalkeeper gets during a kick out. So you can see how much teams actually focus on trying to disrupt and breaking, especially with the modern day rules too, with the likes of the mark and stuff. It's a massive possession each time. As Liam said, it's not just a matter of looking for the tallest man on the pitch and taking the O'Neill sign off the ball. Everything's. Personally, I like to look up and see a picture. As opposed to, I think when you're making signals or your call, you're more or less asking the spotlight to be on me, more or less saying, I'm going to make it, I'm doing something here. So selectors and all can pick up on that, I think, when you look up. And obviously, Liam alluded to there with Cluxton, especially in Croke Park, with that noise, it's impossible to make calls. So it's obviously triggered when he puts the ball down, he looks for a picture, and he'll have an option or two each time. So it's, I think as well, with a lot of teams get caught up in as well, and it's something I actually seen this morning, is in terms of a runner actually I follow, like, it all depends on the goalkeeper too. I think a lot of coaches and managers will be automatically say, right, we're going to kick the way Dublin kick, or we're going to kick the way Rory Began kicks, or Niall Morgan, whoever it may be, but they mightn't have that caliber of goalkeeper. So it all comes down to, what you have. Like, you're not going to give a donkey a racehorse program, and you're not going to give a racehorse a donkey program. So I think if anyone is switched on, they'll evaluate what they have first and foremost and go, right, what can we do here, and what's the best plan to work with what we have got. I think it puts a lot of pressure on people where they go, managers are, referencing Stephen Cluxton, Began, Patton, Morgan, Chris Kerr, maybe. I don't know if they're ever doing that, but what are you joking? But you know what I mean, in terms of it's difficult, and that puts a lot of pressure on. I've seen club goalkeepers fold when that happens. So I think you have to be wary of what you have, their strengths, their weaknesses, and obviously try and work on them to bring them up.
I think that's a great point, Chris. I think that's not just for the goalkeeper. I think that's across the whole team. I know what players you got, their strengths, and set your game plan up from there. No, spot on. I think kick-out's obviously pivotal and huge. I think, but also, as you mentioned, the out of possession stuff. In soccer, it's a bit prevalent because the goalkeeper can squeeze the back four up, so you've got more space in behind to command. Obviously, in Gaelic, there's no offside, but even like you said, Liam, talking to the full-back line, essential. They're the spare man. They can see everything. If the play's developing on one side, are we shuffling across, things like that. I think the goalkeeper has such an important role that he's probably underestimated at times, I think. Okay, let's move on to, okay, looking a bit more, I'm always very critical, and if you follow me and talk to me, I always ask these questions that probably a little bit open-ended. Are we optimizing the way we work together as staff, so as outfield coaches and goalkeeper coaches? Like I know it goes off into different disciplines, but I see the two skill sets very similar, really. Are we optimizing the way we work together to develop the goalkeeper in terms of like team function stuff? And as you said, kick-outs, they have to be practiced on the training ground to be good and come into matches? Or do we feel, I often sometimes feel that there's a little bit of a divide in terms of the goalkeeper coach will fix anything with the goalie, and then the other coaches and selectors will fix from kind of defense and fullback line upwards. Do we think we can get better at that? Or do we think that, obviously it's going to be based on your experiences, or do we think at the moment it's okay? I'll come to you first, Liam.
Okay, so just sort of go back to a point that Chris made in regard to your kickouts and the keeper being able to do certain kickouts. So obviously the team have to adapt to his kicking abilities, and that's where sort of your goalkeeping coach and your outfield coaches would start to liaise regarding your kick-out strategies. So to me, it's a very important relationship as the goalkeeping coach and the manager / the outfield coaches. You can't be seen as the goalkeeping units down in the corner of the pitch doing their thing. You know, to me, it's very important that for me personally, that I have a good relationship with the outfield coaches as regarding the systems of play and regarding what they're expecting of my goalkeeper. So it is a very important relationship to me.
Yeah, no, good point, Liam. Chris, your experiences?
I think it's obviously getting them on board with thinking, you know, everyone thinks a kick out, a goalkeeper setting the ball down, it's the goalkeeper. I think when people actually open their mind up to actually the bigger picture and think, I'm looking up and I see a defender running, I know if he wants the ball or not. It's token runs, it's running with, if you're running for the ball, the Dubs do it obviously, everyone's running with intent, that there's 6 to 8 people look like they want the ball. So I think it's massive that communication is there down through the coaches, that you're relaying that this cornerback is running. You know, they might have a set up strategy, you know, but if he's going to run like that, a corner forward, even me 4 months into an ACL injury would be able to catch him. You know, I think it's the running with intent. It's how people are moving, and it's obviously if you're not communicating that through the lanes, then come a match day, you're going to be like a, you know, rabbit in headlights. I think when that's replicated on the pitch, then you get that sort of buy-in as well throughout all the coaches, and more importantly the players when the pressure comes on.
Yeah, totally agree. A quick story now. So when we did our UEFA B, a guy called Eric Steele, who worked for Sir Alex Ferguson, was a goalkeeper coach for years. He did a part of the goalkeeping. There's a goalkeeper element even to the outfield one, and it was amazing. He set up a team function, and he could take all the way through to a small sided game. He was a goalkeeper coach, but he could take the session, you know, and he could affect players high up the pitch, the forward line. He could affect the midfield line. He can give good detail to the back line and the goalkeeper. Do we think goalkeepers coaches are well equipped to do that in general, and vice versa? Do we think outfield coaches are equipped enough to be able to give good technical info to goalkeepers at this current across the board? What do you think, Liam, from your perspective?
It's just 1 wee second. It's sort of, I think me as a goalkeeping coach get into it. I've been into numerous clubs, and managers said to me, right, Liam, get these players moving, get them, because they're not moving for kickouts, etc. And there is a system that I go through regarding goalkeeper kicking, doing the kickouts. You know, how you sort of have them starting kicking out to six defenders. You know, there's nobody marking, etc. You know, so you're getting your movement happening, and you can build that up where you sort of have, you bring up to 6v3, you'll see attackers coming in. So he still has 3 options to kick to. And you just keep building it up 6v6, and then you can bring in your midfielders, and that's where it's get tight, and that's where you start getting your keeper to make the decisions. Then you can stop it, and you can find out of why your halfback is not moving into certain areas and things. Probably the goalkeeping coach would probably go as far as midfield, regarding what happens the other end of the field. no, it wouldn't be in my remit to involve that part of it, especially with GA. Yes, when I'm doing my soccer badges, it's a massive thing, because the way that changed now is that I'm coaching the goalkeeper for the goalkeeper to coach the people in front of him, and so forth up the field. So regarding the GA part of it, I'd probably stop at midfield.
Stop at the midfield. And how would you feel if another coach or selector or even the manager gave technical info to a goalkeeper? So not just about kickouts, but also maybe catching high ball, and gave some, would that affect you personally, or would you be okay with that?
Well, tough one, Ross. Tough one. Basically, I think that you need, if you want to coach a goalkeeper, I think you have to play the position to know the keeper's mindset of why he's doing certain things. Again, go back to probably, they're taking me in there to fix these problems. You know what I mean? I'm not going outfield to fix why an outfield player's not doing his kick pass properly. That's the outfield coach's problem to do that. If there's goalkeeping problem, let the coach say to me, look, Swifty, Chris is not doing this right on his right hand side, etc. I probably picked up already, and then we go and we fix that issue. The way I would look at it.
Yeah, Chris, what's your views on that?
I think a lot of it comes down to confidence too, Ross. And as I mentioned at the start of it, I don't think it's out of people not, wanting to do it. I think it's just they don't know how. The big thing with GA for years would have been, right, we'll train all year, 2 weeks before championship, we're working on kickouts. See, in the heat of battle, and you've maybe going to Enniskillen, and there's maybe 15,000 people hanging over the fence, shouting everything, and that all goes out the window very quickly, and people revert back to what they know. So I think just having that confidence to be able to do it all year round, and obviously the more you do it, just like drills, more repetition, the better you're going to get at it, and you're going to feel more confident doing it. So it's a tough one. I think there's an element where playing the role definitely helps in terms of being a goalkeeper. I mean, if I went to try and tell some of the St Galls forwards or Antrim forwards how to kick the ball over the bar, I know I wouldn't be able to repeat it. So it's a tough one. It depends on the manager too, and I think that all comes down to coaching and being an all rounder. I think you get coaches go in as a defender, and they automatically think this team's going to be defensive or a forward or whatever it may be. So I think it's just being confident to be an all rounder and trying it out as well.
Sure. No, I think you're both spot on. I think it's obviously about respecting the role that the person's in there to do and improve, but also it's about the environment that the manager creates in terms of what his roles of his staff are and what skill set you've got in the building. I think sometimes there are certain little things that goalkeeper coaches can help across the board if they've got good knowledge around kick passing and they're working on the technical detail kick passing. Maybe that's transferable, maybe, but I guess it takes a staff to be confident in themselves to be able to just intertwine and pick each other's brains. So it's a tricky one, Liam. Sorry, I didn't mean to shut you in there. There's no right answer. All right, we'll move on to the physical side. And Chris, I'll start with you as you're kind of embarking on that journey now, the S&C coach, and taking it that way. What's your views in terms of the physical work that a goalkeeper needs? And we'll talk a little bit on and off the field, not too much specifically off the field in S&C, but maybe some general principles. But where do you see a goalkeeper in terms of the profile that they need?
Yeah. Well, definitely the way the game has moved now. You even look at body compositions. Notoriously it would have been probably you would have seen, heavier set people in goals, people that couldn't run out the pitch, who could have a big boot on them, could kick it long. But as you look at definitely the inter-county scene now, and filtering down the club scene, a lot of goalkeepers are athletic. They could, they wouldn't look out of place. As I mentioned, the likes of Nell and Rory and stuff earlier, could do just as good a job out the pitch. So I think just preparing ways. Myself, I always felt that if I was physically fit, as in running, my decision making was better. My recovery was better from maybe having to make a couple of saves back to back or a lot of kickouts back to back. I always felt sharper, just mentally too, which was a big thing. I don't know if that's just that was me, or is that across the field? It's everyone's different, obviously, but I think obviously strength is a big one in terms of off the pitch. Bilateral and unilateral. For kicking, you mentioned earlier, something I've probably started doing in my late 20s there, into my 30s, was really working on my left foot as well. So being strong on both feet, all the principles of fitness are massive now for a goalkeeper. It's not just a matter of going to nets and hopefully keep as many goals out. It's definitely heading towards more athletic goalkeepers. You even see it in the pro game in soccer too. All of them are. You see when they're swapping jerseys and all, you're like, they look like middleweight boxers. They're not that good a shape, like. So I think it definitely helps, more agile around the goal. It definitely makes sense, like.
Good stuff, Chris. Liam, any thoughts physically what you'd like from the goalie?
Yeah, basically, yeah. I'd sort of 9 times out of 10, obviously your pre-season and stuff, and most any of the teams that I'm with, I will ask the S&C coach to make out a specific program for the goalkeeper. There's no need for him to be the long runs and all that sort of stuff. So I sort of pass some of that on to the S&C coach. Yes, I do some physical stuff on the pitch, but it won't be as excessive as what he'd do with his S&C coach. Bit like the stuff that Chris shared on the group last week, which I thought was excellent, and I've actually kept it. And it's a great sort of fitness plan for keepers. So again, I said, back it up again, I pass this. This is out of my remit, and I kick it over to someone of Chris's caliber, and he can look after that end of things.
I was very lucky, Ross, in terms of playing with Antrim. Some of the S&C coaches that worked with us, probably the main one was Mike McGurn, would be renowned in Ireland, and he's worked a lot in pro sport in England, and he works along with Mike Clegg, who's with Man United. So
yeah.
I remember when McGurn came in, it was just like, it was eye-opening, like, just coming from a professional background. He was with Ireland Rugby for 8 years, obviously, and rugby S&C as well, ahead of GA and even soccer at that stage. I remember just going, it was brilliant. Like, it was, you were getting serious. When I was going out on the pitch, I felt like I was kicking better, and it all fed into that. I think even just, not even the long runs, but like something I would always think of heading down the coaching route is even, the change of direction stuff, all within, why not work within the 21-yard line in terms of that? That's, as I said earlier, if you find yourself sprinting out to the 45, either you've badly messed up or someone else has. So I think even working on acceleration, 5, 10, 15 meters, for reactions coming off the line if a ball breaks and whatever it may be. I think it's crucial for Gaelic goalkeepers.
Yeah, spot on, Chris. Great. I'm sure you had great experiences and learnt loads. And just for people that don't know, for exclusive to our members, so Chris is now putting some S&C programs on there based on his experience and his knowledge that he's getting through the stuff. So we thank you for that, Chris, and it's a great resource to go onto the website as well. Something that you both touched upon there in slightly different ways is like the long running, the aerobic fitness. Like Chris, you said that if you felt aerobically fitter, you felt sharper and you was able to kick more, and recovery, your probably heart rate was lower at certain points of the game. And then Liam, you kind of said that we've probably moved on a little bit from the long running. So where do we think, both of you, it's okay to have different views, where do we think aerobically, is it important as a goalkeeper, or is it something we're not too focused on? I'll start with you, Liam.
I sort of think it has to be. It is very important for a goalkeeper just to be aerobically fit, because he has so many different body positions, etc., to get into, so he has to be fit to do that. So definitely, I let Chris get into the technical part of things, but me personally, they have to be, definitely aerobic fitness is top of the list for me for that, definitely.
I definitely think there has to be a base, Ross. I don't think it would be the top of the pile for a goalkeeper to be, top of the mass running or the tempo runs, but I think to have a good base, it wouldn't be top of the ladder, if you were training a goalkeeper. But I think if a goalkeeper has a good aerobic base, then when they are getting into a goalkeeper coach, the likes of Liam, if they're getting into those 6 to 8 repetitions of highly explosive diving or really quick kickouts, then you're going to recover quicker. You know, it all feeds into one another, and I definitely think there's a place for it. I don't think that, and where I would always find myself at the back of, you know, the long runs, gasping for air. I think those days are probably probably gone. But there's definitely a place for it in terms of recovery. And as I said myself, from a personal point of view, I always felt sharper. I always felt like all my, you know, my technical stuff was probably better too. Then I was kicking better. I was able to, you know, get up out of positions and stuff. And I would always try and do a bit aerobically.
No, I think you're spot on. I think the camps of just getting someone explosive and strength and power as a goalkeeper, I think that only takes you so far. That's really important, the agility, the power, of course, but I think you're 100%. They need some aerobic base to be able to perform and have that overall physical profile. So great stuff. We spoke a little bit earlier about the physicality of the session. So like we spoke that maybe the flogging and sometimes some goalkeeper sessions are too much, they're too excessive from a physical perspective. Like, how hard would you work your players? I'm just thinking on a basic scale of 1 to 10. Like, would you have different times of the week where it would be a tough session from a goalkeeper perspective, or would you keep that all to the S&C, Liam?
Basically, regarding my goalkeeping sessions, if I'm with a team, say full time, the Tuesday session would be, I'm not saying the toughest session, but that's where we get a walk in, would be said at the beginning of the week. And I don't think that these pitch sessions are too excessive, you know, because keepers are like sponges. They're so eager to learn. There's so many different aspects of the game that always needs improvement. So I don't, you know, to me, keeper has to keep getting his wee bit of walk in, and then Yarden say the Thursday session before the game. That's the taper down with me, where we'll talk. Actually go through our goalkeeping warm up, so we know when we hit the pitch on Saturday or Sunday what our warm up is going to entail. And then obviously we're going to go into the bit of kicking with the team. You know what I mean? Things like that. So, you know, and again, if you've a good goalkeeping coach in there, he'll know the aspects of the game that the keeper has to be working on. You know what I mean? So it doesn't, like, even the Tuesday session can be a nice, not saying nice wee session, but it can be a bit of pace and a bit of breathing involved, but yet he's learning again on the Tuesday. And he's always still learning again on the Thursday. So,
yeah. So essentially it's not essential that a goalkeeper has a really tough physical session. Yeah. It's got to be related to their game. From what you're saying there, what do you think, Chris?
Yeah, definitely. I think, and as well, it depends on obviously the time of year as well. You know, as I say, if you have a block of pre-season, I don't know, 6 to 8 weeks, whatever, or if it's in lockdown, it's just 8 months. You can work on, it can be that wee bit tougher, but if it's going by week to week, you know, you're depending on what's went on, you might have had a really tough game on the Sunday as well. I think it's just liaising with the different sort of staff in the background as well, you know, asking of the carrying a knock, you know, hold on, he's kicked 20, 30 balls on Sunday. Are we giving him, you know, maybe 48 hours to recover here, and quad gets tore and you have a match the next week? So I think just those wee conversations are vital as well. But definitely there's a time and a place where you can, I think even mentally, you know, even I used to enjoy I knew when I was being tested too, like, you know, I think there's a time where you know what you can sort of get out, what sort of character you're working with here too. Mm-hmm. Where can you push them? Where can you sort of, you know, probe them and prod them, and you know, how far you can take them. And I think that's part of the position too, because as I said earlier, you're an individual in a team game, and I think being sort of mentally strong, mentally tuned in, and you know, that'll pay dividends. But obviously the more you're moving closer to games, then obviously it'll be more tailored. But yeah, just I think again it comes from the top, what sort of manager you have. You might have someone where Liam used to work, you know, military based, and you might be in for a rough time, like. Mm-hmm. So just depends as well, like. But no, that's a good question, like.
Yeah, like you said, you guys both said there, it depends on what time of the year it is, and also what that individual needs at that moment. Like you said, it might be a psychological thing where you're trying to push them a little bit more. Their aerobic fitness, you feel, might need a little bit of training. So it just depends on how it fits into the whole plan, right? Perfect. All right, let's move on to the kind of fourth corner, I guess, the psychosocial corner, which for goalkeepers, I'm not going to be very PC here. It could be the biggest corner. Yeah, it could be. It's an old saying that we have over here in soccer and football that goalkeepers are, again, not being very PC, are a bit mad. Let's say a bit more of an extrovert. They have to be very brave. They have to be a special type of character to be able to demand off the back line. Do you see that the best goalkeepers having them type of traits, or do you think is that something that's a wives' tale in the past?
Again, I was just sort of when I seen that you answered the question, like if you go back years ago, like and there was a program on TV the other night, the TG4, and Shane Curran was on it. You know, absolutely mad, total crazy what he gets up to, but it was effective. You know what I mean? You know when he likes it. The other goalkeepers, you know, the likes of Paddy Lynn, the Charlie Nelligans, and the John O'Leary's, etc. You know, them. You know, I'm not saying they're all mad. You know what I mean? But probably Shane took it a step further, where he done different things. You know, run out of the ball years ago, which would never happen. You know, where now it's probably something that would happen. You know, regarding today's goalkeepers, I wouldn't say anything's mad, you know, because I know right through them personally, and even knowing Chris personally, you know, these people, when these people are out on the pitch, you never meet nicer people. But once they cross that white line, whatever happens to them, you know, they don't go mad, but they turn into different people.
Yeah.
You know.
I guess that's where it's coming from. Chris, I mean, I don't know you personally that well, but when you crossed the line and you played, like, did you have to have that bit of bite about you to be able to do your job?
Big time. I think probably if you were asking a teammate of mine that question, you definitely would say, you know, crazy as a box of frogs. Definitely in my younger days, like I wanted to be involved in everything going on, and it nearly got this stage where it was only when someone actually said to me, "You're nearly commentating on the game." You know, I think just with age, I've sort of reined it in a bit, but you definitely have to have an edge to it. You know, you can see the top goalkeepers. I think now there has to be an element of just in those moments a bit of, you know, a bit of ice in the veins, you know, in certain moments. But definitely, even like Liam mentioned earlier, like Stephen Cluxton in his younger days was you know, he was lively. He was a live wire. You know, I think as well, and it works two ways. I've had, you know, teammates of mine saying, you know, when obviously they know me, and but like when, like even in social events, like saying when you're on one and you're always talking, you know, it makes us know that he's at it here. And also on the flip side, even playing with the county, I had county teammates from different clubs come up to me as well and say it's an absolute nightmare to play against when you're constantly shouting, you're constantly communicating. It's nearly off-putting where they're nearly, you know, looking over their shoulder as opposed to watching where the ball's coming from. So it works two ways, and I think when you're communicating and you're talking, it shows you're tuned into the game too, like, you know, it's of what's going on. So it's there's a few mad goalkeepers I know too, like, you know, are borderline the monk from Mean Machine, like, so
So there may be some truth in the saying. Then I think you're spot on there. It keeps your teammates in check, doesn't it? If you're really quiet, and it comes down to the confidence behind you. If you've got confidence behind you, then I think you do your job and you're a bit more alert, and you don't want to let the goalie down. You know, if you're very silent, then it can be infectious through the team.
It all comes down to ego too, Ross. I mean, I listened to one there. I listened to actually Kasper Schmeichel speak about it, and people say, you know, he's got an ego, like it's a bad thing. And I think, if you know, when you actually flip it on its head, it's actually a really good quality in a team for a goalkeeper. You know, there's obviously a line where you're not going to be showboating, but that ego of being really confident in what you're saying, your presence, how you carry yourself and talk and stuff, I think it seeps through the team. Now, I'm not going to say, you know, a high ball comes in, I'm going to take it on the chest and ping it out to someone. I think that's different. But I think when, you know, an ego, I think even just in Irish circles in general, people think ego and think, he's this and that. Whereas if you actually flip it on its side, it's actually, you know, there's a place for mavericks too. Like,
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think in the line that I'm in, we probably see more of those. Whereas I think in the GA, it's probably not always been the case. But no, I think you're spot on. It's kind of like you have a character to play in a way, and that's when you cross the line, that's your role for the team. So, a question for you, Chris, and then Liam. So, can that be instilled in someone? Like we talk about this nature nurture kind of debate. Can you put that into someone at a younger age going through, or is that a characteristic that someone has?
It's a tough one. Like growing up, I was a lot of people listening to this that know me will find this hard to believe, but I actually was a quiet enough child until I got to about maybe 15, 16. And I think you start knowing what sort of route you want to head down and what you're about. As mad as it sounds, we're speaking on the mad side of an extrovert. What's wrong with practicing it? Mm-hmm. If you want to get better at something, practice it. If a manager goes to Liam and say, I need Chris to be a better kicker, we're going to practice that. Or he needs to be better diving to his right or left, practice it. Mm-hmm. Practice communicating. Even if it's in the house, even if, as mad as this may sound, something that I might have done, but even if it's in the mirror, it's like it's repetition. And then when you go to play, you're saying these things, and it comes off the cuff, and then it becomes natural. Where you don't even think about it. So it's like any skill. Like, I mean, if you want to practice or get better at something, do it.
Totally agree. What about things like bravery? And these are things that can often be instinctive. If the ball comes through and it's time to come out and collect, and you might get hurt, is that something that maybe is in someone or not, or can that be practiced as well from your experience?
That can definitely be practiced. I mean, you think of certain times in a game, even in soccer or Gaelic, where a ball's flicked across the net, you can replicate that in training, or someone, where you show juvenile kids how to block a ball. It's that putting your hands at people's feet, getting in the way. So it comes down to, I think, repetition, putting in those match type scenarios, and all it takes is one experience for that just to trigger. I think, I had a bad leg break when I was 18, and playing GAA, you wouldn't wear shin guards, and it was just in my head that I was wearing one shin guard during this when I was rehabbing and coming back sort of, and all it took was someone just to slide into me, whatever it was, coming out for a ball, and their knee went right into my shin, right onto where it broke, and it was all right, and shin guard went then. So it's just one of those things that you can, I think, practice, and all it takes is one just to fire somebody, it can just trigger on. That's my own personal experience of it.
Good stuff. Liam, what's your thoughts on that?
Maybe sort of more of a coaching perspective. We could just go back maybe a couple of years ago. I had a county minor goalkeeper, absolutely excellent goalkeeper. The whole technical abilities, everything, but he wouldn't talk. So something that I picked up through the soccer coaching was, and again, it's something I mentioned earlier on, it's me coaching the keeper, for the keeper to coach his defence. So basically we'd put the camera on, and we'd film it from behind the goals, and then we'd go back and we'd watch it the next session and say, right, Chris would talk, say, what do you think you should have said to X defender or whatever it is, and then come the next session, you'll find that he needs that, or I'm saying to him, Chris, come on, talk. Who do you need to talk to here? Right, the cornerback. And he'd say, right, the cornerback to move to certain places. And that's how we sort of got him out of it. And I met him about 6 months ago, and his whole confidence has changed completely when he comes to playing. He's playing now, he's probably a bit like Chris. He does not shut up during a game. Mm-hmm. But to me, it is a confidence issue. And once we got that confidence going, there's no limit to what this keeper could do. I get into the sort of where Chris was mentioning the bravery thing, and it is stuff that can be worked on. Yes, you will see keepers shy away at certain moments, but then again, we play these things back and we say, right, why did this happen? And then we replicate it on the pitch, on the training field, and we fix these issues.
It's funny you say about bravery, Ross, and it was just there as Liam was talking, I was thinking about it, watching Premier League games the last load of weeks, and the contrast between, David De Gea, last week against Calvert-Lewin, he should have cleaned him out. Like, I think everyone was screaming he should have been cleaned out. And then you go back to Dean Henderson a few weeks ago. The ball was in the air, and he absolutely buried his own man, but took the ball. So it just depends on the individual too. Like, but I think just it's something that can be worked on, especially in GAA, where that, as we mentioned earlier about the sort of big dives around the post and all, a lot of it's in close where people are throwing it up and smashing it out of their hands, and it may be a matter of just getting something on it, and sometimes you go home with a O'Neill's tattoo in your stomach or the side of your head, but it's just about getting the ball out of the net, like, sometimes, like, but and the technical side just goes out the window sometimes. Taking one in the face just has to be done.
Totally agree. The reason why I asked that, I'm kind of on the fence a little bit. I've seen like academy goalkeepers come through, and I think it's easy to say, well, their personality maybe stops them from getting to the top level. But actually, on reflection, well, have we actually worked on that enough? We've done loads on the tactical side and communication, but that real instinctive bravery, have we really worked on that over time? And I think the future of not just goalkeeper development, but every development is like utilizing other industries maybe to draw stuff out. So I think there on communication, could we send these kids, and it's easier because we've got a full-time program, but could we send these kids to be work with a head chef? Exactly. Drama, that stuff where they're gonna have to put themselves out of the comfort zone and thinking a little bit laterally to develop these players.
Well, you hear stuff of like the rugby teams and all now doing jiu-jitsu and wrestling and stuff, like, it's you take something from other sports, definitely, and the best managers and coaches, you steal wee bits and make it your own, like, so it's
for sure.
It's definitely something that can be worked on, like.
Yeah, that's a good point. Everything can be developed, and it's up to us as staff to get it out of people, right?
And it's just as simple as maybe earlier where we're speaking about goalkeepers involved out the pitch. If you're in those sort of crowded areas, especially GAA, you're getting hit like an outfield player. There's a lot more tackles coming in. That can maybe, bring you on a wee bit in terms of bravery as well. The pressure cookers is the famous one. The 2 to 3 on one person, you're holding on the ball and hoping the whistle goes anytime soon.
You can't try and draw a foul, or you can't give it away. You got to do something, No, I agree. I think that's the sort of way we have to be thinking about all players and developing all players and how we develop them. Last one in the psychosocial corner, and then we'll summarise up. We spoke about it briefly about the GK Union. I'm sure you've all been a part of it's not a formal title, but within each club and team, there's always the goalkeepers and the goalkeeper coach who get casted the GK Union, which I actually think is really good. I think it creates a real good camaraderie and a learning environment for those goalkeepers. Is there a balance, though, of that union kind of closing themselves off socially? I'm talking about psychosocially from the rest of the team, and how important is it that the support staff and the players themselves recognise that to be integrated? Because when you go across the white line, as you said, there's if you haven't got the connection with the back line, the midfield line with movement, and it's irrelevant because you're going to be struggling. So how do we balance that? Have you had experience with that, Liam, and how you work on that?
Basically, I'm going to go into the goalkeeping union at the minute. Is that like the relationship I have with my goalkeepers? To me, it's a special relationship. It's a funny one because it's like an amount of friendships I've made out of it is absolutely unreal. Like they're friends for life because of that bond that you get when you're coaching them and the crack you have, etc. And yes, there's sometimes outfield players get jealous of that, of that bond that you create with keepers. But there is a balance in it. You know what I mean? Like, it's not always me and Chris working together all the time. Like, eventually, like, that'll go out onto the outfield sessions and we'll walk again there. But it is to me, it's a special union, and I don't, and it's and Chris will probably back me up. It's something that I'm delighted to be part of. You know what I mean? And
I'm trying to break it up a little bit, and you're keeping it close. I like that.
I'm gonna keep it tight, but it is special. It is special for me. You know what I mean? Like, yes, the keepers will go back to the outfield players and do whatever sessions they have, but the bond between coach and goalkeeper to me is very special, especially for him to improve or her to improve. The relationship needs to be there, so I think it's very important.
Before we go to Chris, I see that from the protectiveness that the goalkeeper coach always gives the goalies. Like even if they've had a howler, there's always, but have a look at this side, and they protect him. And I admire that, that maybe the outfield players don't get that so much love. What do you think, Chris?
Yeah, I think it's because a lot of people, especially in the modern game, if a goalkeeper makes a mistake, like, for example, last week, for me, like, I'm not a Liverpool fan, but I think Alisson Becker's #1, like, in the world, like, and for him to make a mistake that, that any of us could make it playing five-a-side, and the amount of people that jump on it that, have never played the position, saying what he should have done different, or X, Y, and Z. I think it's what sort of gets my goat. And then when you even strip it back to GAA, a lot of people that have maybe, for the criticism, don't know, if you have a Michael Murphy or something standing a full forward, and people are going, you should be coming out and getting it, or it's not just as easy as climbing over someone who's maybe 6'4" and whatever they may be weight-wise. So I think when you've actually played the position, you appreciate what pressure's on, and what I've said earlier there as well. You're an individual in a team game, So I think just it all links in well with the extroverts, and you're in a wee one-man band, and I do like it too. Like I like letting the outfield players know all about it, and know how important we are too. Like so it's all that goes back to, you could make 9 saves in a game and one mistake, and that's all they talk about. Whereas a forward could make miss 9 shots and score 1 and be a hero.
Yeah.
So it all comes down to that too. Like, and I suppose it's the pressure of the job and the position you're in.
Yeah, so you took the words out of my mouth. The pressure, as you go up the field, the pressure kind of gets lower and lower, but you seem to get the money end at the top end of the field where they're the match winners. However, the amount of saves that the goalkeeper makes can win you a game as well. So I think it's they need the recognition, of course. Just a summary question for me, guys. Thanks so much for your time. You've given me so much of your time already. I've got just a summary question for you both, and then I'll let you go. So Liam, I'll ask you first, and then I'll come on to Chris. What's the future of the goalkeeper? Where do you see the goalkeeper going? Is it changes in profiles of the keeper? Is it changing in training methods? Is it changing in the way we work or the perception? Where do you see the goalkeeper kind of the player going, and the type of training methods along with it?
I think the position will actually get more important as we go on. Especially you see the way it is at the minute. It's the pressure on the keeper at the minute is not the pressure. Though it is tough on them, but to me that's going to continue. There's no other way around that. And regarding sort of my training methods, again, we touched on earlier on the futsal thing. I'm actually looking into it at the minute, doing the futsal goalkeeping coaching badge that I can, because I find it fascinating the way they get in set position to stop certain shots and stuff. And I think that's something you could bring into the GAA to teach them, because it has said at the very start, I don't get into too much depth jumping into top corners, because it doesn't happen in our game. So I think by me personally bringing that aspect in, it'll bring a keeper's sort of profile and shot stopping capabilities up to a different level, definitely.
Perfect. Could it happen, Liam? I'm just thinking, could it happen in the top corner? You got to tip it around the post.
It's not saying I don't do it. I do. We do go through the technical parts of it, and we do touch on it, but it's not something I would tell at home. No, definitely.
No, fair enough. No, really good answer. Chris, over to you.
I think just the modern day goalkeepers said earlier, getting involved more out the pitch. We've seen it. Players. The big craze was goalkeepers hitting 45s with, obviously the boys we mentioned earlier, the sort of top level of them. But even body compositions too. They're looking like athletes. They're looking like outfield players. I think it's definitely changing and will change. We spoke about quarterbacks, and Mr. Brady last week. I think I read somewhere he had Kevin connections. Playing at 43, and all the focus is on him. And there's just more pressure with the game. It depends on the rule changes also. What they like to tinker with the rules. so each possession is valuable, and it shows now that Liam's saying there, the saving side of the game is, maybe it is important. Obviously, you save a goal, you stop a goal going in, it's huge. But in terms of a game, you're probably averaging 20 to 30 kickouts a game. So it's the big one that you're probably working on, and then obviously the gym side of things too. It's just that's not a matter of goalkeeper turning up, kicking a few balls and heading home now. Like, you have to sort of live the life off the pitch as well. And I think more importantly now, especially in GA that you see now, I think when I was growing up, I used to love Anthony Tohill, midfielders, John McEntee, all these sort of big lumps out the middle of the pitch now. But I think now growing up, there's so many kids growing up that want to be a Stephen Cluxton, a Rory Began, a Niall Morgan, all these types of top goalkeepers. So it's really good. Like, kids are growing now, saying you can get in and ban gloves and ban goalkeeper gear, and they want to be goalkeepers. It's not just the boys that get the limelight for scoring now. People want to grow up and want to see that the variety in their games at both ends of the pitch now. I think Rory Began has scored over 100 points for Monaghan from dead balls, which is insane for a goalkeeper. Like, it's definitely a developing role. Like, and it was great to grow up sort of, watching it evolve whilst I was playing, and then hopefully get over this injury and get back and give it a couple of years of a rattle too. Like, so.
That's the plan, Chris. You're going to get back out, yeah?
That's the plan, yeah. It's I think even these two. I spoke to someone actually the other day, and I've done the cruise ship twice, sort of back to back, and due to lockdowns and whatnot, I've only missed 6 to 7 games, so I haven't missed that much football. Like, so fingers crossed, and I'm still a spring chicken, I think. Well, mentally anyway.
Exactly. That's all that matters. That's all that matters. Great points. I think the technical demand of the goalie is obviously getting higher and higher, and that's going to continue to develop. But then the pressure, the psych pressure that comes with, and the resilience when things don't go right in games, and sticking to game plans and stuff. So I think it's going to be pivotal in future games across Gaelic and outside of Gaelic as well. Guys, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. I think it's going to be really popular and a totally different one, and something that we might do in the future. We've got some player profiles on the website for people to purchase. We haven't actually got a goalkeeper one, so I think maybe we need to invite you back and go through it a bit more formally, exactly what we can do, and we can get that out to members and stuff. But thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. Just if you haven't already, guys and listeners, head over to the website www.deelysportscience.com. Have a little look what we've got available over there. Lots of different whole heap of different resources over there, from technical practices, from different possession-based games. We've got some goalkeeping section stuff that's emerging now with Swifty and Chris has come in on board as well. We've got loads of stuff going on there, continuously ongoing resources, and to be a part of our coaches WhatsApp, which is I think from U2's point of view is really good. There's loads of good info going on the WhatsApp groups. So yeah, please check it out. Have a little look what the sign-up options are there, and hope you enjoyed the episode. Cheers, guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ross.
Okay.